The storm over Virex 9 was unnatural. Not the kind of storm born from shifting pressure systems or tidal gravitational anomalies. This one shimmered. Lightning forked across the sky in violet veins, illuminating the broken skyline of the mining colony like the ribs of a dying beast. Kael Arden hated storms. They interfered with his scanner. The human salvage pilot stood atop the hull of his battered dropship, adjusting the long-range sensor array manually while the rain hissed against his jacket. Most sane beings had abandoned Virex 9 after the collapse. But Kael wasn't most beings. He made a living picking through ruins others feared. "Come on, give me something valuable," he muttered. The scanner flickered, then stabilized.
There.
A life sign.
Weak.
Buried beneath Sector 12's collapsed transit tower. Kael frowned. The colony had been evacuated weeks ago after seismic fractures tore the crust apart. No one was supposed to be here.
He zoomed in.
The life sign pulsed faintly, humanoid. Small frame. Critical condition. Kael exhaled sharply. Damn it. Salvage pilots weren't rescue workers. But he'd once been stranded on a moon with a failing oxygen tank, and someone had saved him. He couldn't ignore it. He powered down the dropship and ran toward the ruins. The transit tower had folded into itself like broken bones. Kael climbed over debris, metal cutting into his gloves, until he heard it. A faint cough. He dropped to his knees and started clearing rubble. Under a slab of carbon steel plating, he found her. She looked human, at least at first glance. Long dark hair plastered against her face. Pale skin streaked with blood and dust. Torn fabric that shimmered faintly like woven starlight. Her eyes opened as he lifted the metal off her. They were silver, not gray. Silver, like liquid mercury catching lightning. She stared at him in confusion. "You're safe," Kael said automatically.
He didn't ask who she was.
Didn't ask why she was here. He simply lifted her carefully. She was lighter than she looked. Her hand gripped his jacket weakly. "Why?" Her voice trembled. "Would you help me?" Kael smirked faintly. "Because you're breathing." And that was answer enough. Middle part 1. The secret she carried. Kael brought her to his dropship. He cleaned the blood from her brow and sealed the deep cut on her side with a medgel patch. She watched him silently. Not afraid. Not suspicious. Studying him. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated. "Lyra." It felt practiced. Chosen. Kael nodded. "I'm Kael. Don't worry. I'll get you off-world." At the mention of leaving, something flickered across her face.
Fear.
"No," she whispered. Kael frowned. "No. They're searching."
Who?
Her fingers tightened around his sleeve. "My people." That made even less sense. Before he could question further, the scanner screamed. Multiple warp signatures entering orbit. Heavy-class vessels. Military grade. Kael's stomach dropped. He looked at the screen. The ships were unlike any he'd seen. Sleek, crescent-shaped hulls glowing with soft internal luminescence. Regal. Beautiful.
Deadly.
A transmission forced itself onto his console. An unfamiliar language filled the cabin, melodic yet commanding. Lyra closed her eyes. "They found me." Kael stared at her. "Who exactly are you?" She met his gaze. And for the first time, there was no pretense. "I am Princess Lyra Valinari." The cabin seemed to shrink. Princess of what? The Celestari Dominion. Kael had heard whispers. An ancient empire beyond mapped space. Advanced beyond comprehension. Ruled by a single bloodline said to manipulate stellar energy itself. "You're telling me," Kael said slowly, "I just dug a galactic princess out of rubble." "Yes. And those ships are my mother. As if summoned by the word, the sky split open. A massive vessel descended, larger than a city. Its hull shimmered like a living star. Kael whispered one word. Queen. Middle part 2. The Queen arrives. The dropship door hissed open without Kael touching it. A column of golden light descended from the sky. Within it stood a figure.
Tall.
Radiant. Terrifyingly calm. Her eyes were the same silver as Lyra's, but colder.
Sharper.
Behind her stood armored warriors whose weapons hummed with contained supernova energy. Kael stepped instinctively in front of Lyra. The Queen's gaze shifted to him. She said nothing, but the pressure in the room intensified. Kael's knees nearly buckled. Lyra stepped forward. Mother. The Queen raised a hand. Silence. She studied Kael like one might examine an insect. You touched her. Her voice was smooth, controlled, echoing with restrained power. Kael swallowed. I pulled her out of a collapsed tower. You carried her. Yes. You treated her wounds. Yes. The Queen's expression shifted subtly. Among the Celestari, physical contact with royal blood carried sacred implications. To touch a princess during vulnerability was considered a binding act of protection. Ancient law. Unbreakable. Lyra realized it before Kael did. Her eyes widened. Mother. He did not know. Intent does not negate action, the Queen said calmly. Kael blinked. I'm sorry, what law? The Queen stepped closer. The air shimmered around her like solar flares trapped in flesh. By ancient decree, she declared, her voice resonating beyond the ship, beyond the storm. The one who shields royal blood in her hour of mortal peril becomes her sworn protector. Kael exhaled. Protector.
Fine.
I can live with that. The Queen's eyes narrowed slightly. Protector and consort. Silence.
Kael stared.
Consort? Lyra's breath caught. The Queen spoke clearly now. You will marry her. Middle part 3. A human's defiance. Kael burst out laughing. He couldn't help it. I'm sorry.
No.
Absolutely not. I saved her because she needed help. That doesn't mean I signed up for intergalactic royal marriage. The guards' weapons hummed louder. The Queen did not blink. You reject the honor? I reject being told who to marry. Lyra watched him carefully. There was no greed in his eyes. No excitement at power. Only stubborn humanity. The Queen studied him longer this time. You stand before a ruler who commands fleets capable of extinguishing stars. You defy me without hesitation. Kael crossed his arms. Yeah, because power doesn't impress me. A flicker. Not anger. Interest. The Queen turned to Lyra. Did he know who you were? No. Lyra whispered. Did he seek reward?
No.
The Queen looked back at Kael. You acted without expectation. Kael shrugged. That's what you do when someone's dying. Silence stretched. The storm outside began to dissipate. The Queen's voice softened, barely. Do you understand what you have done?
No.
You have fulfilled an ancient prophecy.
Kael blinked.
Oh, fantastic. Of course I have. The Queen stepped back, golden light flaring behind her. For centuries, our seers foretold that the Celestari throne would be stabilized not by conquest, but by compassion. She looked at him with new calculation. A ruler who acts without seeking power. Lyra stepped forward. He doesn't want the throne. Precisely, the Queen said. Kael pinched the bridge of his nose. This is insane. The Queen's voice dropped to something almost human. You saved my daughter when my fleets could not reach her in time. You placed yourself between her and danger. You refused reward. You defied a queen. Her eyes gleamed. You are worthy. Kael shook his head. Worthy or not, marriage isn't a law. It's a choice. The guards tensed. The queen's gaze sharpened. Then, unexpectedly, she smiled. Very well. The entire room froze. You will not be forced. Lyra's breath caught. But the queen continued. You will come to the Celestari capital. Kael frowned. Why? So you may decide with full knowledge of what you would accept or refuse. Final part. The choice that changed the galaxy. The capital of the Celestari Dominion was not built. It was grown. A living megastructure orbiting a blue giant star, its architecture woven from crystalline energy and bioengineered light. Kael felt impossibly small standing beneath towers that hummed with stellar resonance. He saw the throne room, saw the fleets, saw the power, and he saw Lyra, not as a princess, not as prophecy, but as the girl beneath rubble. She met him in a quiet garden chamber overlooking the star. I never asked for this, she said softly. Neither did I, Kael replied. She smiled faintly. You could leave. My mother would honor it. Would she? Yes. He studied her. You don't want a political marriage.
No.
Do you want me? Lyra stepped closer. When you lifted the steel from my body, you looked at me like I was just a person. Her silver eyes shimmered. No one has ever done that. Kael felt something shift in his chest. Not destiny. Not prophecy.
Choice.
I won't be your consort because a law demands it, he said. Then what will you be? She whispered. He took her hand. Your partner. The throne chamber filled with thousands. The queen sat watching. Kael stepped forward voluntarily. He knelt, not in submission, but in respect. I choose her. The queen rose. For the first time in our history, she declared, her voice echoing across fleets and stars, a union is formed not by decree, but by mutual will. She looked at Kael. You were tested without knowing it. Kael exhaled. Yeah? How'd I do? The queen's lips curved slightly. You changed the future of my people. Ending. The storm that never returned. Years later, historians would mark that day as the turning point. The Celestari fleets no longer ruled through intimidation alone. They formed alliances. Open trade. Protected rather than conquered. And at the center of it all stood a human who had once simply answered a distress signal. On a balcony overlooking the blue giant star, Lyra leaned against Kael. Do you regret it? She asked softly. Rescuing you, he teased. Yes. Kael smiled. Not for a second. Below them, children of mixed heritage ran through crystalline gardens. The prophecy had been misunderstood. It wasn't about power merging. It was about perspective. A queen once feared across galaxies watched her daughter laugh freely for the first time in centuries. And she understood something profound. Empires are not stabilized by force. They're stabilized by those who help others without knowing who they are. Far away, storms still formed across forgotten colonies. But on Virex 9, the sky never shimmered with violet lightning again. Because sometimes, all it takes to change the galaxy is one human who stops to help.